Hey all, Kate here from Emerald Minecart. Welcome back to another review, and today I'm reviewing VHS 94. Since recently the newest installment of the VHS series, VHS Halloween, which yes, I will be covering that after this review, so yeah, I'm not really going in any form of order. Yeah, I decided, hey, I should start watching the VHS series for the first time. Which, yes, this is my first time actually sitting down and watching the movies, since my only experience before it was me seeing the movies for reviews. So now I've actually decided to sit down and watch the movies. And you're probably curious, Kate, why did you not start with the first three movies? Well, first of all, again, I'm not really going in any order. Second of all, the first three VHS movies aren't on Shudder yet, so yeah, until they arrive on Shudder or until I get the physical copies of the three movies, yeah, I'm not going to be covering them at this moment. But yeah, anyways, the pros, the cons, and the mids. Obviously, start off with the pros, the VHS aesthetic. Now, the VHS series is a found footage series. Now, I know found footage can be a mixed bag, especially since it is a genre where literally anyone and their mother could make a found footage movie. You have some good found footage movies, and you have some bad found footage movies, mostly with the latter. But the VHS series is mostly a good found footage series, and the VHS aesthetic of the series is pretty good, especially compared to the movie that came before this, but that will be for another review. Yeah, honestly, the aesthetic is on point. You can tell that, yeah, these were things that were found on, well, footage. It's the genre name. Next up is the music. Honestly, I really do enjoy the music. It's nice and creepy, and I also quite like the pop rock music that we get at the end for the credits. I quite like it. It just, I don't know why, just the music for the end of the credits just like, it's like the physical embodiment of like the wackiness of the VHS series. Because the VHS series does get a bit weird here and there, so there's that. The third thing is the practical effects. Now, yes, CGI is used for the VHS movies, but they use practical effects more, and oh my god, the practical effects in these films are amazing, especially this one. And I'll get to them when I get to each segment, but yeah, the practical effects, mwah, peak. I know practical effects can be expensive, obviously, especially depending on what you're working on, but still, when you go through the effort of making practical effects, I really enjoy it, especially when they're really good as well, like they are in this film. So first off, the first segment, Storm Drain, which is actually the first segment of the film. I honestly quite like this one. I like the physical or the practical suit they made for like the main monster of the segment, Ratma, which is this human rat creature that lives in the sewers, and these people who live in the sewers worship it. It's really cool. It's also really gross, but that what makes it cool. And also the short ends where the guy's face getting melted off. It's all gory and stuff. And you're probably wondering, why am I bringing that part up? Well, I'm going to mention it later for another segment that's in the pros sections. But yeah, the Storm Drain segment, pretty good. But a segment that is even better and is honestly my number one favorite segment of all out of all the VHS segments, the subject. The subject has our main character who is a Indonesian female who gets kidnapped by a crazy doctor and basically has like the upper half of her head removed and replaced with a camera. Honestly, this is where the practical effects shine the most. The practical effects for the body horror and the cyborgs, robots, are so freaking cool. Like, the subject just rings, like, okay, not rings, but the subject segment is just filled with potential of being a pretty epic survival horror game. And actually, one of the segments from the first VHS movie actually got its own solo film. So I hope that we eventually get a solo film for the subject because holy shit, the subject is just again, like I mentioned, the subject is like the best segment I have ever seen in my life. It's awesome, it's amazing, and that's all I'm gonna go say. Go watch VHS 94. Shutter has Shutter lets you have a 7-day free trial. No, they're not paying me to say that. They don't even know I exist. But holy shit. Just go watch VHS 94 and you'll agree with me that the subject is, like, personally for me, is the best segment. And now, finally, for the final segment in prose, terror. This segment follows a extremist group who takes place in Canada, I think. It's really snowy there. Uh, so yeah, but yeah, like mentioned, follows a extremist group, possibly in Canada, and they have a vampire hostage. Now you're probably thinking, all right, what does this have to do with the segment? Well, here's the thing: this segment actually has a really interesting take on the vampire, for it explains that a vampire's blood can be used as an explosive when it comes in contact with sunlight. Yes, that's the plot point in this segment, and I love it. It's so interesting because I'm pretty sure, like this is the first time that's like it's made it where like oh yes, but even if the vampire is dead, its blood can still be dangerous. And here's the thing. The vampire keeps coming back to life. So, and also another thing is we're like it's not shown, but like it's hinted that the vampire has been kept here for a very long time, and thankfully, the segment actually does. When the segment starts to come to an end, the vampire is able to escape because two of the members of the extremist group were just were like being stupid, and, like playing around with him. But yeah, the vampire gets his revenge, and the practical effects for like the ability that the vampire has, which is like for his mouth to extend, is so good. But there's just one problem. So there's a scene where the vampire seemingly bites off the face of one of the members of this extremist group. Now you would be thinking, oh, it'd be really gory, as like the guy who got his face melted off in the storm drain segment. Well, no, the guy who gets his face bitten off in Terror just looks like he has like red paint on his face. But that's really the only complaint I have about the Terror segment. Like this segment was really cool, and also again has a really creative twist on the vampire. Now for my cons. Hold on, let me take a quick drink. Alright, so I actually don't have any cons. Yeah, that's how good this movie is. That's how much I love this movie. Zero cons. Now finally we get to the mids. The first one is the Empty Wake segment. It follows a African American lady who is attending this wake for someone who died in a violent way. Basically, like half of their head was like sliced off, and later in the segment they're back to life, and the practical effects is really cool. The reason why this segment is in mids because I don't really have a lot to say about it. And then finally, the segment that connects all these other segments, the connecting segment. Holy hell! It follows a SWAT team who is sent to go investigate like an area that like they're basically doing a drug bust, but it's not actually a drug bust. And like near the end of the movie, it's revealed that two of the SWAT team members are a part of this crazy VHS snuff film cult that owns the building that the SWAT team people are sent to. And also, the connecting segment, holy hell, actually does connect to the terror segment. For the main leading SWAT officer is actually just police officer who gives weapons to our extremist group in the terror segment, which, definitely some commentary there, but I don't want to get into it. But yeah, besides that, this movie was pretty freaking good. And again, this is the first ever VHS movie that I actually sat down and watched. So, yeah, honestly, I loved this movie, and you know what? Yeah, I give this movie 7 out of 7 stars. And you know what that means. That's right, this movie gets an Emerald Seal of Approval. So, yeah. Next up for the VHS movies that I'm going to be reviewing, I'm going to be reviewing VHS Halloween, mostly because it's the most recent entry to the VHS series. And actually, a little fun fact, one of the segments for VHS Halloween is actually directed by the same guy who made the Adult Swim short Too Many Cooks. Which, I've seen Too Many Cooks, it's pretty good, I quite like it. So yeah, I'm quite excited to see what it is. So, yeah. Anyways, that was it for this video. Make sure you all subscribe and like for more, and I'll see you all later. Peace out, home guards, and goodbye!